saunter down to the dock. Put the Yeti in the back and she's ready to rock. It's a May River thing. It's a May River thing. It's a May River thing. Got the whole family down here. It's a May River thing.
Hey, Tim Wood, with the latest edition of Low Country Chronicles, very excited to have with us the new CEO, breaking news, the new CEO of Bluffton Self-Help, Courtney Hampson. Courtney, congratulations. This is big news.
Thank you. Yeah, I am super excited. I can't help but notice that you were laughing as you were starting your intro. Was that about me?
no, just
You're just delirious with the
I'm like, it's just such a good fit. I think that's what I'm laughing about. Is just like things don't work out like this normally. Like life, like the good people and good fits don't always find their ways to each other, and so like I think that's what I just. It makes me smile, like, quite honestly. That's why I'm laughing. It's kind of like, I'm like, wow, what a fit.
Yeah, I have never been a everything happens for a reason kind of person. I believe I'm in charge and there's no other outside forces. But I think I'm finally coming around to how this has all worked out. I started my career 20 years ago in the nonprofit world and made a crazy left turn to the for-profit world for 17 years, and here I am back again, and it just feels good.
Now, Courtney was the vice president of marketing at Palmetto Bluff for many of those 17 years.
Yes.
Did you rise over there, or was that the title from the get-go?
No, I rose. I came in as the communication manager. My first task was to create a resident website. There were about 50 full-time residents, less than at the time, and to figure out a way to communicate on a regular basis with the residents. So that's how I started, and that lasted about a year, and then I kept kind of just showing up in the marketing office and making myself a presence and volunteering.
Always useful. Oh, yeah, just make yourself useful. Yeah.
And the team at the time, the executive team at the time, they really, and I've said this many times, every idea any of us had kind of in the beginning, then nobody ever said no. It was, yeah, let's try it. So there was just this amazing entrepreneurial spirit across the entire organization for a really long time. And that's how I kind of just continued to grow. Palmetto Bluff went through a bankruptcy in 2009. I was the cheapest person at the time and really the only marketing person who survived. So luck, right place, right time. I don't know, but cheap labor. And so I hung in for that, and then it just took off from there.
It's and it really is. It's so much about timing, so much about just like you said, making yourself useful, and like what you said in terms of the creativity and the early days is, when you have that environment where you can be agile, make decisions, empower the folks around you. Yep. It's a really exciting atmosphere.
Well, and that's how I learned to lead. My first all of my bosses really at Palmetto Bluff were always so wonderful and gave me an amazing runway and let me try things. And I did that with my team there and hope to do it with the team here. I joined Self-Help in January as the COO, really to kind of wrap our arms around this crazy growth that the organization has seen. We merged with the Literacy Center last summer, which essentially took the Bluffton Self-Help team from one location and 6 people to 18 people and 4 locations. So I've spent the last 90, 100 days kind of figuring out the processes and the systems to really kind of grease the wheels so that everybody can do their job. I don't feel like I completely finished that part yet, so I'll be doing both for a little while here. But I'm excited.
Oh, I mean, tell me in terms of how this transition started. Obviously, with Kimberly and probably wheels were in motion even before then, just in terms of understanding the greater need.
Well, Bluffton Self Help is 35 years ago. There have only been 5 CEOs in the history of the organization. Kim, my predecessor, was here for 5 years, and it was really under her leadership where the entire organization changed. For so long, for the first 30 years, we focused on neighbors in crisis, food, clothing, emergency financial assistance, pay your rent, pay your mortgage. We don't want anybody to be, put out of their home. And 3 or 4 years ago, as we started working more closely with our neighbors, we realized that kind of the key in the equation of not being able to make a livable wage or always kind of being one crisis away from financial issue was related to job and education. And so we started a pilot program on the education side a few years ago because we spent so much time working on workforce readiness, job search, resume with our clients. There's really a connection. So we did a lot of research and a community needs assessment to back up our hunch that if we can address education, adult education, then we are going to be able to address the people who are in crisis. And if we do our jobs in 5 years, education should be really where we are focused, and there will be less people in financial crisis. Unfortunately, right now, 60% of our neighbors in Beaufort County are making less than a livable wage, and 75% in Jasper County. So there's this direct correlation between education or lack of education and the ability to make a livable wage. If we can close that gap, our original mission remains, but our focus, kind of the roots are there, but the branches of this tree will just continue to extend. We just did registration for our summer ESL boot camp. We're actually ending registration early because we filled all of our classes in Hardyville, in Bluffton, on Hilton Head, almost 200 students. All classes are led by volunteer tutors. When we think about our ESL students, these are folks who are brand new to the country and just trying to understand how to go to the grocery store and decipher between ground beef and chicken, but also folks who are here from another country with 2 college degrees from another country, but those don't mean anything here. So there's a huge need there. And then we have our GED students. These are students who maybe haven't been in school in a decade or in a couple decades, but know that getting that GED impacts their job, their wage, and that's a commitment. I mean, it could take a couple years to get your GED. When I first started, I tried to take the math practice test. And I got to question 2 and it was already algebra. And I was like, wait a minute, question 2 is algebra?
Yeah.
I get it. Like, this is tremendous. And so our tutors and our mentors who are working with these students, these are committed people who are working a full-time job to pay the bills. They may have kids at home, and now they're also coming to school a couple nights a week, thinking ahead, what is my path forward? And we're there to walk with them every step.
I think what's so exciting is just, you know, people, the former vision or the former thought when people thought of Bluffton self-help, and quite honestly, a lot of nonprofits for a while, it was this Band-Aid. It was just getting through the crisis. And,
Right.
It's similar to what we see in health now. Like, we're finally starting to see, all right, let's get ahead of this.
Whole picture.
So we're not constantly in that crisis. Let's address what got us here and the whole picture. And
Right.
that's really what's so cool to see what you guys are evolving into.
Yeah, it was very transactional for a long time. You're in crisis, we will meet you, but we might not interact again. And so now the investment we have made, in addition to on the learning and literacy side, is our resource hub, which is staffed with 2 client advocates who are social workers, an intake specialist who happens to be Ida Martin, our founder's granddaughter, and a whole slew of volunteer intake specialists. So when somebody raises their hand the first time, we are there to meet them, but also to peel back some layers. And if they are willing to share a little more and help us create a plan with them, we can do that now in one setting. So we had a woman come in. This is kind of my favorite example, or the best example. She came in for financial assistance, and that would have been, okay, submit the paperwork, our committee will review, and we'll get back to you, and we'll pay this bill for you. But it became, why can't you pay this bill? What else is going on? We know when somebody comes to us, there's probably 3 to 5 other things happening. So in addition to paying that bill, we were able to negotiate a new cell phone contract for her and save her money. We negotiated her cable bill and saved her money. We signed her up for her SNAP benefits. We made her aware of other resources that might be available for her children. She's now a single mom of 3 kids. Then she started looking at her budget. I don't make enough money to pay my bills. Well, what do you want to do? So now we're working on a resume. Now we're doing a job search. Oh, this is where you work. They're hiring a manager. By the end of the week, she was applying to TCL. She was like, wait a minute, did I just apply to college? So in a week, our case managers were able to take her on this whole path, which in the past might have just been, here you go. So we've put all of these people in place to help our neighbors along their path, and it's making an astronomical difference.
And we just assume that everybody knows like all these basics, and
Right.
and it's just not. And so I have to assume like part of, as you guys are growing and obviously gathering funds to make all this happen, part of this is just educating the folks in the gated communities and the folks that just, we have this one vision of what life is here, and that's not it.
True. The community is in crisis. I mean, those numbers, 60% of our neighbors in Beaver County are not making a livable wage, which is $57,000 for a family of 3. So yeah, you drive down 278, gate, fountain, gate, fountain, fountain. But that isn't the full picture of Bluffton or Beaufort County or Jasper County.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you guys build the trust for folks to believe that you're going to follow through for them? Because so often that's like the basic part, is just building that trust.
I mean, like any relationship, it's communication and it's time. So we are making an investment, and we will be with you every step of the way. And it is hard to walk in the doors here and ask for help. And what we found, in situations of poverty is generational. And for many of our neighbors, all that has been missing is somebody saying, you can do this. So that's where our tutors and our mentors become so important, because they have a champion and a cheerleader on their side, literally in the classroom, helping them with their homework for tonight's math lesson or tonight's English lesson. And like, this is your person. So our neighbors are finding their people. And so the job of the volunteer tutors has evolved. You're a mentor now too. And people make connections. We are in, the business of people. My mentor 20 something years ago said, Courtney, the world is about people. And I still say that all the time. Our business is people.
How did you, and what I was thinking of there was just that woman that you brought up as the example. I mean, just in that week, you probably, that relationship probably went from skeptical to elated. Like, like it's not a handout. This is a hand up, or
self-help.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to help people become self-sufficient, and then sustaining that. When someone has confidence, paying the bills, that's tough. You know what I mean? So what confidence comes from figuring out the financial piece of your life? You're then a better coworker, you're a better community member, you're a better spouse, you're a better parent. So this is all about like building up the person. I don't know why I'm doing this with my shoulders. But yeah, so it's building confidence, and it's hard to walk in and ask for help. And if we can make that a little more palatable, and that's why opening the resource hub is so important. It's essentially the living room of Bluffton self-help. You're walking in, you're sitting down, you're having a conversation. It's not like you're walking in and fill out this form and we'll call you next week. it's a moment to take a deep breath. I mean, there's a reason there's a couch in the resource hub. Sit down, take a deep breath, and we're going to meet you on that couch and figure out what's next.
This has got to be so crazy, just because I mean, you were on the board before, um, and to go from the little tiny shack in Old Town
Yeah.
to the new building, and now the just this next chapter. It's got to be kind of a crazy thing for you to just come to full circle on.
It's absolutely full circle. I was on the board from 2010 to 2012. It was when we undertook the campaign to purchase the building I'm sitting in now. But we were in that what used to be the former town jail, and I think now is a police substation, or maybe the town environmental team is there. I'm not sure, but it is literally the size of this room I'm sitting in. And when we had board meetings, we couldn't be serving the public because you couldn't open the door because the table was right in front of the door. And if we had a quorum, the door wouldn't open. It was also a major fire hazard now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, we were packed in there. And the decision a decade ago was we need our own space. And so the clothing and the food and the financial assistance moved over here to Sheridan Park. But even just how we serve in the market for folks who shop in the market, it used to be we handed you your food. Now the market is a grocery store. You come in, you get a grocery cart, a shopping cart, you go up and down the aisles, you choose what you want to make for dinner tonight. Again, confidence, making their own decisions, like having control over something when other parts of their life might be in crisis. So how do we give them some
Every
control?
part of their life. Yeah. I mean, just when you give that one thing where you can have some control and build some confidence
Yep.
around, it's just this like seed, this
Mhm.
immediate seed of after a rainstorm, right?
Yep. Yeah. So we just want to keep water in it. I mean, in the perfect world, our students who were tutoring get a better job, get a promotion, and maybe they come back and tutor, or they come back as a mentor. So that would be the true full circle.
And I mean, when we talked, and by the way, you can see the article that that preceded this interview in the latest edition of the Bluffton Sun, the May 3rd, 2022 edition of the Bluffton Sun. But we were talking about just the Ida's daughter and the story of the mustard seed. Can you
Mhm.
share a little on that?
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, we celebrated the 35-year anniversary of Bluffton Self Help, and Miss Ida's vision, and her daughter Constance, who was on our board, told the story of, she said, my mom planted a mustard seed 35 years ago, and we have nurtured it and watched it grow. And now that seed is this tree. Our roots are born of that same seed, but we have 4 locations. We're in 2 counties. We have 18 employees. Our services have expanded. But at the core, we will still meet our neighbors where they are, solve that immediate need. But now there's just so much more we can do to take them on our path, their path.
It's awesome. Let's talk just a little bit about your path. Like this is, I said it before. I mean, it seems like such a great fit, and you've obviously felt that in just getting there in January, and being ready and excited to make this next step. How did this path happen for you? To go from nonprofit to being to for profit, in a very thriving, high end resort and
Yeah.
community, back to, or I won't even say back to, but just evolving into this next step with
Yeah.
Bluffton Self Help. What made you make that move?
Right. Well, I mean, to rewind all the way, when I moved here in 2005, I was interviewing for nonprofits, but then I also interviewed at this place called Palmetto Bluff. I had no idea what it was. I drove through once. I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yes, I'll work here. But really, for me, it was the opportunity to give back. I thought, what if after 10 years of asking for money as a nonprofit fundraiser, I could be the person giving money? And so that is really how I was first even introduced to Bluffton Self-Help, the Boys and Girls Club, Second Helpings, Family Promise, was because of the programs we created at Palmetto Bluff to support the local community. That was super important to me. And by the time I left, we had donated more than $1.5 million to area nonprofits. I mean, I was there for a long time, but that was my mission. And again, I had a great leadership team who agreed and approved. And our goal was to be generous in the community in which we thrived. And so fast forward, when I left Palmetto Bluff last summer, separate podcast, I really just took this moment and said, like, give yourself a minute to figure out what you want to do next. And, I stayed on as a consultant with Palmetto Bluff. So I had a little runway to figure out what that next was. And I reached out to Kim Hall here and said, how can I help? And so every Monday at 2:00 in the afternoon, I was coming in to help them with their rebranding after this merger with the Literacy Center, which was planned to, flip the switch on all this new branding and marketing in January. And so every Monday for 2 hours, I was here with Kim and Danny, our marketing manager, and they were my favorite 2 hours of every week. I just loved feeling a part of a team and being part of the team, and it just felt good. So that marketing evolved into some operational questions. And, we had this beautiful story of how we were going to tell the story of the evolution. But I raised my hand one day and said, how are you guys actually going to do this? And so we were writing on a whiteboard, me and Kim and our board president, Doug. And, I was like, you're going to need somebody to figure out the operations piece of this. Little did I know I was drawing myself into that like empty circle at the top. And that's how I ended up here on January 3rd as a full-time employee. When I got to Palmetto Bluff, I didn't know anything about real estate development. I knew a little bit about marketing because if you're in the nonprofit world and you're the fundraiser, you're also the marketing person. That's what it does. And I applied everything I knew from the nonprofit world to selling high-end real estate. I know that makes no sense, but the nuts and bolts of how I raised money in North Jersey for nonprofits was how I tried to get prospects for real estate at Palmetto Bluff. Same exact formula. And so now I had 17 amazing years of corporate marketing and operations and retail development. I mean, I got to do so many things. Now I'm applying all of those back here again. And it's really, how do we get this machine moving so our team can be out in the community and serving our neighbors, so we're not worried about how the cogs are working on the inside.
What are the biggest needs from the community as you guys make these next steps, and outside of just educating folks on the importance of getting involved and understanding the crisis, how are you bringing new folks into the fold to grow the mission?
Yeah. So, I mean, volunteers are the heartbeat of this place. We have more than 200 volunteers. I think 212 was the latest count last week. And they are the folks who run the market. That's who's going to greet you when you come in the door and help you check out. They're going to help you in the clothing closet. They're going to help you work on your resume potentially, or get you down to the computer lab. They may be the person you talk to first on the phone, and they are the teachers in the classrooms. So we're always looking for volunteers to help drive our mission. They are the heart for sure, and the soul, and they are fun and generous. It's a beautiful thing to see. I would love for anybody who is a little intrigued to come and learn more. Like, take a tour, see what I mean when I say there's a reason there's a couch in the resource hub. Come and see what the resource hub and what we're doing in there. Come and check out the market. Our immediate need right now in May is food in the market. So we like to have between 4 and 6 weeks of food staples in our warehouse, and we're down to about 2 weeks. And so that is an emergency. Tim just lost his headphones, so I'm going to stop talking.
I got one left.
God, I was in the middle of this beautiful soliloquy. No, but the market is our immediate need. So for the month of May, our call is help us stock the shelves. In January and around the holidays, so many people do food drives in November, December. That carries us through January and February. But now they're getting a little low. And we know that come summer, when kids are home from school, they're not getting their snacks and maybe lunch at school. So now the the bill at the grocery store is going to go up a little bit. So we want to make sure our market is fully stacked. So that is cereals, peanut butter, pasta sauces, soups, instant oatmeal, like anything that can stay on the shelves for a bit. We invite you to come and drop it off. We will actually be open on May 14th on a Saturday, just in case it's easier for folks to get here on a Saturday to drop off. But that would be the challenge to the community right now. We need to stock the market shelves.
So you've been part of this evolution. What are your goals in terms of putting, and it's, I mean, it's not a selfish.
My first day.
Huh?
My first day.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. First day, but I also, it's like, I don't want to, because this isn't about you. It's about an organization doing great things, but you are leading it. How do you envision everything you get involved in? You put a definitive a definitive footprint on, in terms of just how you go about things. How you've got a well-oiled 35-year machine here. What are some of the things, I guess, even in your job interview that you said, okay, we're doing great things, but here's what we need to do better?
My goal is always to think strategically, to be 5 years out. How do we want the organization to look, which is going to be driven by how do we want the community to look. So I really think education is going to be crucial there, and how we move our students along their path. But while I am thinking strategically, I also pay really close attention to the details. I always say, when I'm gone, Tim, and you're speaking at my memorial service, I hope that people will say, gosh, she didn't miss a thing, because I really want to pay attention to the details. And for me, that is about our neighbors and the people who are coming in the door and asking for help. What are we hearing from them? How do we remain connected to them? And despite the growth and multiple locations and more programs and more services, I want to make sure we're always paying attention to the person who walked in the door, and crossing that threshold was really, really hard.
Can't say it better than that, I guess. In terms of, what haven't we hit on here that you want to get out to the public?
Wow, that is a great question. I think right now, again, I've been so focused on the inside, and how do I make sure, we have an amazing team. How do we make sure all the processes are in place so that everybody can do their job, and then just watch this grow? I think what I'm excited for is getting back out and being the externally facing person. As I was at Palmetto Bluff for so long, I've kind of been inside for almost a year now. And so kind of turning back outside and connecting with our partners, and our donors. We do not claim to be experts at everything, and we do not want to do this alone. So strategic partnerships and our donors, our community partners, that's the crucial part. And so I'm looking forward to kind of spinning back around and getting out there. So, answer the phone when I call.
It's I guess it's got to be constant humility too, because everybody thinks, well, everybody knows Bluffton self-help. It's like the cornerstone. But we have so many new people here now. Mm-hmm. It's just this next wave of population that there's a lot of folks where you're educating them on who you are. You're educating them on the need.
Well, on the wave of the population. So it's not just the folks who are retiring here, right? It's the folks who are living here looking to start their lives. So when we think about what the population growth is going to be in Beaufort and Jasper County, it is going to be mostly retirees who aren't worried about a livable wage anymore, right? So we need to still remain focused on the folks who are here trying to make it day by day.
It's funny to me just to think back. Like, you and I were probably and in our newsroom, like everybody would say to me, like, why would like you why did you move to a retirement community? It's like everybody's asleep at 4, like there's nothing to, and the whole dynamic has changed so dramatically here in terms of the breakdown of the population, the size of the population, the size of the need. I applaud you guys so much for evolving with that and constantly striving to stay ahead of it. And I know that's like a just treading above the tidal wave sometimes, right?
There are so many potential distractions. Transportation is not an issue we are an expert on or can solve, but it impacts our neighbors every day. How do they get to work? How do they get to childcare? How do they get to Bluffton self-help? Childcare is another challenge, right? Which is what's distracting and creating, need for our neighbors. We can't solve that, but can we create a, strategic partnership with someone who we can work with to kind of, figure that out? So the growth of the community, there's all these things that could potentially distract us from the core and our mission. So while we need to be aware of them, we need to stay focused too. We're juggling every day. This is like an orchestra, and I'm just hoping everybody's on the same sheet of music from song to song.
The maestro, you're the maestro. And how do people get started? Is it the website?
Yeah, the website's a great place to start. As a neighbor in need, as a volunteer, as a donor, all of those paths are on the website.
Fantastic. Courtney Hampson, new CEO of Bluffton Self Help. Thank you so much for joining us and for walking us through the journey and walking us through all of the amazing things that Bluffton Self Help does and the needs and I just wish you. I'm a words guy and I'm usually not verklempt, but like just having seen you since my new hometown since the Jersey girl coming to Bluffton and to see your evolution here, it's just so exciting, and it's so exciting to see this next chapter and to know what you're bringing to the table. I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you, Tim. It is wonderful to talk to you. We have been friends for a long time. But we've never had a conversation like this, and I'm getting a little verklempt myself. This is an honor. Like, I consider this an honor. This isn't about me. This is about our neighbors and how do we change this community and make it thrive.
We're getting there, and it's because of folks like you and the work that Bluffton Self-Help does. So please, folks, get involved. Folks say to me all the time, especially newcomers, I write this newbie's guide, evolution of what you were doing. And folks, whether it's when they see these videos or they see what's happening in Bluffton, it's like, all right, I came here for a reason. Like, there's a vibe here in this town that is just, I have to be part of it. How do I become part of it? How do I fit in or just help? And here's how. Here's a great place to start. Awesome. Cool. Courtney, thank you again so much, and for joining us on the first day, and so excited for many more days ahead.
Ditto. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Get the boat gassed up, saunter down to the dock.